Hi everybody, welcome to the last day of Comic Arts Conference Wondercon. The Comic Arts Conference is an academic conference that runs during San Diego Comic-Con International and Wondercon, and we like to bring scholars and professionals together, talk about comics with the public. We'll get started. We're doing Countercultures, and I'll let the presenters introduce themselves, take over, and then we'll do questions at the end.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Henriques. I have an MA in English Literature, and I'm from California State University of Dominguez Hills. It's an early morning.
Hi, my name is Brenda Brand. All other details same as hers.
Hello, I'm Salvatore Russo, commonly known as Tori, and I also went to Cal State Dominguez Hills with these fine ladies up here.
Hi, my name is Terry Fleming-Wright. I'm also an English Lit major. Actually new to comics pretty recently. Totally jumped in with both feet. It's been fantastic. I'm from Cal State Dominguez Hills also.
I think this is where we do the obligatory go Toros. I guess I'm first up. So I'll be presenting my paper entitled Envisioning Assimilation in Tom King and Gabriel Walta's Vision, Volume 1, Little Worse Than Man. In Tom King and Gabriel Hernandez Walta's graphic novel, Vision, Volume 1, Little Worse Than Man, the Vision, a longtime member of the Avengers, relocates his newly formed family to a suburb in Virginia. This suburb setting creates a space to explore race and class issues in relation to themes of assimilation and identity. Specifically, this Vision and his family's attempts to assimilate into this suburban setting and conform to notions of normalcy emphasize the underlying problems non-dominant race groups face in integrating and upholding class structures that do not and cannot address the social, civil, and economic disadvantages common in marginalized groups. As synthesoids, the Visions epitomize the marginalized experience as non-human, but sentient beings. However, King and Walta use a notion of a synthesoid, a concept that inherently implies perfection, to explore the tenuous categories that separate and disadvantage non-dominant race groups. Despite the efforts of the Vision's family to integrate into their suburban setting, the community continues to question and ostracize their presence. Specifically, in a series of panels depicting Vin in class, a fellow classmate manages to steal his attention away from the lecture, and with a nonchalant facial expression, she uses her laptop to ask, "Are you normal?" Though his synthesized appearance creates a space for such a question, the implication of such a statement reinforces critical race theory critics Richard Delgado's and Gene Stephanik's claim. Long preoccupied with issues of identity, American society prefers to place its citizens into boxes on the basis of physical attributes and culture. Because the Visions are colored purple and green and have a mechanical exterior, their appearance places them into these proverbial boxes which Delgado and Stefanik allude to, and make it impossible for Vin or any member of his family to assimilate into the dominant culture. Thus, people in this community can easily categorize the Visions as not human, and therefore not us, and ultimately not American. While the Vision and his family want to integrate into this suburban society and uphold notions of normalcy, their status as synthesoids prevents successful assimilation. These questions of normalcy continue as Vin and Viv navigate school with human peers. In fact, Vin continues to explore this topic of normalcy when he engages his twin sister in a conversation. Vin, am I normal? Viv, Father says we must strive to remain ordinary. Vin, yes, I know, but is that the same? Does doing so make me normal then? Vin's immediate distinction between normal and ordinary is visually and ironically highlighted as Vin and Viv fly through the sky, and again as Vin phases through the floor of his high school. Vin's quest to remain ordinary in spite of his extraordinary origins speaks to a minority group's need to join and be part of the dominant culture. Because as Delgado and Stefanik argue, quote, Box checking allows people of white or near white appearance to gain the benefits of affirmative action without suffering the cost of being thought of and treated as black and brown, end quote. So for the vision to encourage his family to act ordinary, or in other words, act within and to the standards of the white heteronormative culture, he hopes that he and his family will successfully integrate into American society and thus become more human-like. However, the visions and his family's synthesoid forms disallows their successful assimilation and instead further allows this society to other and marginalize the visions. Specifically, in the scene wherein a female classmate questions Vince's normalcy, the story's frame narrator states, quote, "Facts without context are like individuals without society. Just as an individual must find his or her place in society, or else they are useless. A fact must find its place within an argument, or else it serves no true purpose," end quote. Because of their marked difference, the visions cannot fully acclimate into larger society and are therefore rendered useless to their environment. This useless condition, however, is fundamentally paradoxical to an AI who seeks assimilation as part of its base code. As Scott Jeffrey contends in his book, The Post-Human Body in Superhero Comics, Human, Superhuman, Transhuman, and Post-Human, quote, "The artificial body does not simply seek cosmetic change. This search for an authentic identity is really a search to be accepted as human," end quote. Despite the Vision's family's attempts to integrate into society by engaging in human activities, their marked difference disallows a successful integration into society. As a result of this unsuccessful assimilation and alienation, the Visions increasingly exhibit or experience violence. This sustained violence predominantly manifests in Virginia, the Vision's wife. As a stay-at-home mother, Virginia is either at the forefront or the perpetrator of the violence underpinning her family's attempts to remain ordinary. These occasions, her murder of the Grim Reaper, a villain intent on hurting and killing her family, her punishment of young boys tagging her family's garage with discriminatory words, and her involvement in the accidental murder of her blackmailer's son, together with her choice to knock her blackmailers unconscious, after such a horrendous action, results in Virginia's literal and mental breakdown. Virginia's utterance, "I do not know how to fix," conveys Delgado and Stefanick's claim, quote, "The risk is that non-Black minority groups not fitting into the dominant society's idea of race in America become marginalized, invisible, foreign, and un-American," end quote. While Delgado and Stefanick's claim assesses the risk for non-Black minority groups, their rhetoric can be applied to the Visions as they fail to assimilate and continue to falter under the weight of their marginal status and invisibility. Vision and his family are part of the minority who seeks access to the dominant culture's privilege, and in this case, that privilege means a normal life without violence. Their attempts to integrate, however, prove unsuccessful as members of the dominant culture attempt to brutalize Virginia and her son. She kills the Grim Reaper in self-defense and becomes trapped in a cycle of sustained violence that makes it impossible for her to sustain a normal life. Ultimately, King and Walter used sustained violence as an allegory for the minority experience. The Vision's inability to successfully assimilate into human society because of their synthesoid forms reinforces Delgado and Stefanick's claim that, quote, "Literature and media reinforced this view of minorities as the exotic other. Minorities appear in villain roles or as romantic, oversexed lover. Science fiction movies and television programs portray extraterrestrials with minority-like features and skin color," end quote. The Visions, despite their synthesoid appearance, play into this exoticized trope of minority groups in fiction to create the appearance of distance between the narrative and the reader's lived reality. The violence and discrimination that the Visions face, however, is so viscerally real and unfamiliar that even the funny colors and futuristic tech are not enough to mask the pervasive violence that minority groups often face. Thank you.
I'm gonna save my